Hello and welcome to a brand new AVForums Movies podcast. We're streaming live on the 15th of February. And joining me on this edition, we have the AVForums Movies team. We've got Simon.
Hello, everyone.
Kaz.
Hey.
And Tom.
Hello.
So it says in the running order here, after ramble on for a minute or so. So I shall do that because this is the Movies podcast. So slightly different from the weekly podcast. The weekly podcast stays where it is on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. So join us for that every week. Tonight, we're going to deep dive a little bit more into movies, what we've been watching, what is currently on streaming services, what's coming up, what are we looking forward to, that kind of thing. So, really going to deep dive into some movies. And we'll even cover genres and actors and favourites and all the rest as it goes on. So this will happen once a month. We're going to go live every third Monday of the month. So the third Monday of the month going forward. And if it's popular, we might do it twice a month. Who knows? We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how you're all doing out there as well. So you might be wondering who the guy is with the shirt on, who's made an effort and dressed up. That's Simon Crust, reviewer. Hasn't been on a podcast for a while, Simon. We were reckoning it's about 4 years since you were last on.
Got to be 4, maybe 5 years since I was on a podcast, and it was nothing like this. It was purely audio. We would chat for about 2.5 hours. 3 hours at times with Chris, of course. Yes, it would tend to go on for an awful long time, and you would edit it down so we didn't all sound like idiots. Unfortunately, see how it goes tonight, shall we?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's live, so if you're an idiot, you'll come across.
We're going to come across as an idiot.
Also, we're not just introducing the movies podcast. We've also got some industry insider podcasts, which are going to happen on a semi-regular basis when we can get people from the industry on board and so on. So keep an eye out for that as well. Our first one we recorded on the 10th with Trinov. So we're going to talk, and it really is a deep dive. So get ready for 2 hours of hardware talk about their room optimizer and their technologies and so on. That's coming up soon. But welcome to the first AVForums podcast. And before we go any further, it would only be right that we give you something for you coming along and watching us and so on. So competitions, Kaz, what can we win?
Sure. We got the usual competitions available. They currently include the Denon Home Soundbar 550, which is worth $5.99, and a bunch of 4K Blu-ray competitions, including Elysium in 4K, Criterion's February Blu-ray titles, Batman Soul of the Dragon, and The Mask of the Red Death. So head over to avforums.com/competitions to enter. All competitions open to eligible AVForums members resident in the UK.
Thanks very much, Kaz. So if you do that, and obviously there's usually some podcast specials and patrons on the weekly podcast, so keep an eye out for that. So what are we going to do tonight? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about what we've been watching. We're then going to go to coming soon. So we're going to tell you what's coming up on various streaming services, what we personally are looking forward to and what we want to watch. We're then going to move on to our spotlight of this evening, which if you saw the thumbnail, you will know that that's News of the World, which was Netflix launched last week, wasn't it? So we have all seen that. We've all made the effort to sit down and watch that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, content-wise, style, the context development, HDR, Dolby Atmos, all that kind of thing. And then we're going to talk about Westerns in general, because it is a Western. And then we'll tell you what we're going to talk about next month once we've decided. So we've given ourselves about an hour to get through this. So hopefully we'll stay on time. I'll keep an eye on the clock. And obviously a little bit later start this evening if you're watching us live. So let us know in the chat window what you think about that. Is it a better time starting at 7:30? Does it mean you get here on time? Let us know in the chat window, and obviously give us your opinions on what we're going to talk about tonight. And first of all, we're going to talk about what we have been watching. So Tom, tell us all about the excitement in your household and what you've been watching on your TV.
Well, in these continuing grim times, it's only right that I've been looking at some stuff to cheer me up. So landing on Netflix in January, so this month just gone, was the third part of Disenchantment, the Matt Groening animation, medieval fantasy animation, which lots of people are slowly coming back to. I think it had a bit of a rocky start, and I think it lost a lot of the audience, but the audience, yeah, a lot of people. But I've noticed as it's been continuing, especially with part 3, that lots of people are coming back to it and reappraising it. And yeah, it's worth another look. Definitely worth another look. It's not. I think a lot of the disappointment behind it first time round was that it wasn't the sort of episodic, fast, a joke a minute like The Simpsons and like Futurama that came before it. It is a serialized, story-centered show with jokes in it. And I think once you sort of get hooked into that story, you're dragged along by it. And it's really lent into the serialization in part 3. And it's also been really funny. There have been some surprisingly touching moments as well in it. And it's just been really great. I've been really enjoying going back to it. It's been renewed for a 4th part. Beyond that, we don't know. But hopefully it'll keep going because, yeah, it's been a real mood lifter in the house.
Okay.
And so has Superstore, also on Netflix in January. All, however many seasons of it, landed at the same time. It's something that America's had for ages. And it's like a Parks and Rec or an Office, but just set in a supermarket. But it's slightly funnier than that sounds. It's really just good-natured, wholesome, enjoyable, not quite as funny as something like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but not far off. Yeah, really nice character-driven comedy. So yeah, those are a couple of recommendations from me, I guess.
Okay, well, I might give part 3 a go. I managed to get through about 3/4 of part 1 before I gave up on it. It didn't hook me. And I didn't feel anything for the characters. I didn't really cling on to any of them. So yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll give it another go. And Superstore sounds interesting. So if I can ever get through The Expanse, because I've still got another 3 seasons of that to get through. I'm also got Clone Wars. I'm only into season 2 of that. There's 7 of those. So I've got another 5 to get through of that. So those are the ones I want to watch. So I'm trying to get through those as quickly as I can. And obviously WandaVision, we'll come on to WandaVision at the end of this part because I think we've all seen it. So, or we're all keeping up to date with that. So we'll have a quick discussion about that. But we're on to, I think it's episode 6 we're on to now. So I'm not sure how many was in the season. Was it 12 this season?
9, I think.
Is it 9? It's only 9. Okay, so we're getting there then. Things starting to move a little bit. So, Simon, you haven't been around for 4 years, so you've obviously got about 4 years worth of stuff to get through. So, what have you been watching?
I've got a fair amount, yeah. I'm not going to go massive on this, but there's a few bits that I've been watching. Galaxy Quest came to Netflix. Was it this month or last month? Great film, everyone loves it. But if you go onto Prime and look up Never Surrender, a Galaxy Quest documentary, that tells you about the making of the show and how it got made, people in it, the problems they had, how it was being filmed. It was a little underdog compared to the big one, which I won't mention. And it's very, very enjoyable watch. Yeah. It's great. It's really, really good. That's worth seeking out.
It's done by the guys that do a lot of the YouTube channels, Fandom. So they produced it. So yeah, it actually came about from a love of the film, and you get that from the documentary. The guys making it actually.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone speaks very, very highly of it. It's a great watch. What else? Okay, so on Netflix, Death to 2020. Now we all know what a horrendous year 2020 was, and in fact continues to be in 2021. Death to 2020 is a show by Charlie Brooker. Now, most people probably know him from Netflix show Black Mirror, but years ago he used to do a show called Weekly Wipe, when he used to take the piss out of the week's news and events. And basically, he's taken the whole year and put that his spin and comedy genius to 2020
I haven't watched it yet, Simon. Is Clunk in there in the usuals?
Yes,
they are they?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I found it hilarious, and I quite like the guy. I really, really enjoyed that.
Good. I was surprised that it got kind of a kicking across the pond. People in America did not get on with it. And
well, he does go at Trump a bit.
Yeah, his humor's a bit of an acquired taste.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I would describe it as British humour, I think. So
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. He's got the the characters in there that he has on the wipe. The Philomena Kunk and the other guy, and he always gives them very strange names. And it is an acquired taste, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and it's a real proper piss take. And you have to. I mean, the year that it was, you really have to laugh at it, because
fun, yeah.
otherwise, So moving on, I've also watched Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai had its third season drop. What was it? Is it December? I think, maybe in January. Fantastic show. Who would have thought that 30 years later that the Karate Kid would come back as strong as it has? All the same characters, all the same kind of interactions between them, and it's a terrific show. I really, really enjoy it. I don't know if you guys seen it. No,
Steve raves about it every single week.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the trouble is that it didn't really become available in the UK until season 3 came along. So I missed all the. It was on YouTube Red.
Yeah,
was it first?
Yeah, it was.
So,
That's where it started. But it hit Netflix middle of last year maybe. But it wasn't. There was no fanfare at all. Until people started talking about it. I think Red Letter Media, they done a short video on it, and that's where I found it from. But it's a it gets a bit hokey and a bit silly and a bit 80s throwback. But in the end, I really enjoy it. I think it's a great show. So I mean that's finished and done with for now until the next season ends on a cliffhanger. So we've got to wait for season 4 to come along. Okay.
It is on my list.
Still more to go. Still more to go. It is on your list. Yeah, it's it's well worth it. I mean, they're 25, 30-minute episodes. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Kicking off from what Tom was saying there about some light-hearted, easy watching. Something that I didn't start watching until Nikki, my wife, she found it, and I had to binge watch it with her because she absolutely fell in love with it. It's a show called New Girl. Used to be on Netflix. We found it on Prime. It's now back on Netflix, and it may even be on both. Zooey Deschanel, 7 seasons worth of irreverent comedy, 22 minutes per episode, kind of in the Friends mold for 20-something friends and the misadventures that they get up to. Very silly, but light-hearted, easy watching. Something you sit down, have your dinner, put that on 20 minutes. Fantastic. Really easy watching.
There's a Spider-Man in it as well, isn't there? Peter B. Parker from Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
The love interest in New Girl? Is he the love interest, or is he just a friend?
They can be both. Yeah, they can be both. It goes in and out. The characters come in, characters go out. Reportedly, Prince was a massive fan of the show. I mean, it's actually quite an old show now. I think it started, 2008, 2009, something like that. It's quite an old show, and there were 7 seasons of it. So it's well old now in terms of current programming, but it still stands up. It's still brilliant. And as I was saying, Prince was a massive fan of it, and they have a show dedicated to him, and he's actually in it. So I mean, that was quite something to see. Prince, the legend, or symbol as he was called at the time when they were filming it. So moving on, a couple of films that I've watched, very, very new. One is just dropped beginning of the month, I think, on Netflix, called The Dig. Heard of that one?
Yep, heard about that one. It's based on a true story, isn't it?
It is a true story. Yes, it's the discovery at Sutton Hoo, the biggest archaeological discovery and the most important archaeological discovery ever in this country, supposedly. A 90-foot Anglo-Saxon boat with untold treasures, gold, swords, massive stuff. All this stuff is available in the British Museum, and it's a story of the guy who found it. And the old girl whose land it was on. Light-hearted, easy, very subtle, entertaining film for an hour and a half. Wives will love it as well. Something else I watched only Friday, I think, because that's when I think it dropped on Prime. A film called A Map of Tiny Perfect Moments. Heard of that one?
I think I have heard of this one, but I haven't watched it yet.
Stumped you all.
Yeah, is this the Groundhog Day one?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it is, yeah.
Yes, it is.
So I was contemplating. I mean, I only caught the trailer, but I was contemplating if it was any good. Doing a quick review of this one. Yeah,
I was very taken with it. Very,
Oh,
very
okay.
taken with it.
Huh.
Yeah. It's a kind of sweet, easy watching film, in the same vein as Edge of Tomorrow or Groundhog Day, when a character relives the same day again and again and again, and he comes across someone else who's reliving the same day, and together they try and work out why, and they the clue is in the title. They make a map of tiny perfect moments, and from that it sort of diverges off onto not a darker path, but a slightly different path where you think it's going to go, and the conclusion of it, the actual twist of where the film goes, brilliantly done. Very sort of Jacob's Ladder vibe, I felt, and I thought it was very, very well done. And that's something I think that a lot of people will get some enjoyment out. Again, a bit twee, a bit light, but enjoyable nonetheless.
Okay.
Good.
Right. I'll try and get
Good,
that.
so you've been
get
watching
that
more.
done.
More? Oh no, I've got more.
Oh,
More.
you've got more, have you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'll be a bit quick on the next stuff. Bridgerton, I think that's still quite big
no.
in the charts.
No,
No,
thanks,
Tell me
Ryan.
you didn't like
no.
it.
No, thank
Well,
you.
okay. I mean, I had to suffer through it because, again, the wife found it because her daughter said, "You got to watch this show. It's fantastic." It's not horrible. It's kind of watchable. They are hour episodes, and there's 10 of them, so it takes a little while to get through.
I had
but-
to watch it too.
Yeah,
My other half watched it and she found it horrible. So that was enough for me. I don't feel the need to revisit that.
yeah, that's enough. Okay, moving on. But it's
there
still a
was-
chance, isn't it? I mean, I saw today.
There was a bit in it where I think I ruined it for her. It's a pivotal moment where one of the male characters goes round to see the woman he loves, but she's a prostitute, so she can't be with him because he's of higher standing.
Yeah,
And she's got someone else in her boudoir, and he's at the door with roses, and she gives him a really long and extremely well acted speech about how they cannot be together, and he stands there looking utterly gormless, and the whole time I was narrating it going, line, line, line. You know, it's really bad acting, but my wife was too busy laughing at me taking the mickey out of and what I thought was an abysmal male actor versus an actress who was giving it her all and proper crying while she was getting into it, and the guy just looks completely dumbfounded. I didn't know I was here to act. I'll be off. Yeah, it was. I couldn't handle not mocking it. I have to say, she really enjoyed it, but I couldn't handle not mocking it at every stage.
Well, I don't think there'll be any more either, because the premise of the show is that these hoity-toity, well-to-do characters are all held to account by a particular writer in this daily tabloid, if you like, and at the very end of it, spoiler alert, they tell you who it is. So that kind of kills the show, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Well, I know that it's based on maybe being a bit harsh, a Mills and Boon type book. I think there's a series of them. So anybody who wants more of it, I'm sure there is more to plunder. You know,
Sure
it'll
there's
be.
more. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. The last 4 titles, which I'll wrap up pretty quickly on. They're all animation stuff, because I've been watching a bit of that because it's been great. Wife's been at work at the nursery and I've been at home entertaining myself. Series called Paradise PD, which is awful, but great. It's so gross out humour about a police force who do everything bad. It's vile, but so funny. Not for the kids, but very, very funny. Check that out. And funnily enough, there's a 3rd season just dropping next month, which is going to be one of my picks. Another animation show, Final Space. Anyone heard of that one?
Yeah, I watched the first season of that, but I didn't really get on with it.
Did you not?
No, I don't know why. I don't know what it was about it, but I didn't. I don't know. I just couldn't. It didn't tick with me, even though it's
I
four
found it
people.
fascinating. That you should, yeah. I mean, the character himself is fairly unlikable, and the situations they get in are fairly unlikable. But I felt that it was. It's all sort of burp and fart jokes all the way through it, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you'll get a hugely emotional moment. You think, "Oh my god, this is really quite good." So that's why I liked it. There's 2 seasons. I thought the first season was sort of encapsulated very well. Second season, not quite as good. Takes 3 or 4 episodes to get going, but I quite like that one. So
It's got a great voice cast. Like,
absolutely,
even I couldn't. That was the one thing that struck me when I watched it. Was it's Fred Armisen, who's a comedic actor famous for Portlandia and other stuff, and Tom Kenny, who is every voice in any cartoon you have ever heard. He's SpongeBob SquarePants is probably his most famous role, but he is like one of the most prolific voice actors in Hollywood. So having him in there is a real treat to listen to. And I think, is David Tennant the bad guy?
yeah,
Am I
yeah,
misremember?
that's
Yeah.
right.
So
First
it's got a brilliant cast.
yeah.
Ed said he loved it. Best intro music ever, Ed says.
Absolutely, the music in it's brilliant, and the whole premise of it is fantastic. Final Space, and to get to understand what Final Space is, you have to see the show. It's brilliant.
Good evening, Ed, by the way.
Okay.
He's taking the mickey out of us in the
Oh well.
chat window.
Okay, so the last 2. First one, Big Mouth. That's 4 seasons of that. 4th season just dropped January or December maybe. About teenage kids growing up through puberty and how they deal with their hormone monster, which is a physical entity. And the just, again, it's a slightly gross out, but absolutely hilarious, because we've all through puberty, apart from maybe you, Phil, but the rest of us have. And it's fantastically funny, just absolutely mental. Well worth a watch if you're into that kind of idiocy. And my final pick, which I'm currently watching, which used to be on Netflix, is now on Prime, and no doubt will go back to Netflix, is Bob's Burgers. Have anyone heard of that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. It is so daft. Again, 20 minutes, 22 minutes, Bob flipping his burgers with his wife, Linda, and his 3 kids, and the mental stuff they get up to. I love it. I absolutely love it. I've just started season 6 tonight, which is, it's gone a bit musically, but there's at least 2 or 3 occasions in every episode that has me crying out of laughter because it's so daft. Please watch it. It's great.
These ideas of 20-minute episodes,
for now, is me.
They sound really good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of recommendations
Absolutely.
in there. I'm like, why have I been missing out on all of this stuff?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That is the AVForums Music Podcast. Thank you very much for joining. I think we've still got Kaz to do. Kaz, what have you been watching?
No, come on, I can't top that. I watched the Euphoria special pandemic episodes. They were aces. It reminded me how good the show was. They really handled the pandemic very well, and filming, clearly like two-handers, just 2 people sitting in a cafe for an hour and making it really work. There were some properly emotional moments, and it did remind me how good the show is.
And Zendaya is always a blast in anything.
Yeah, she is really good in that, and it made me think that the Marvel universe is really lucky to have someone like that. I mean, she's really good in it. Her episode's really good. The other, it's a flip side episode. It's the 2 main characters are kind of torn apart. The other one's about Hunter Schafer, and they're both really, really good episodes. And I've been putting them off because one was released before Christmas and the second one wasn't supposed to be released until I think end of January. And I didn't watch the first because I wanted to see the second. And then the first left Now TV because you know how stupid Now TV is. You have 3 days to watch this. It's always telling you've got this countdown. And then, of course, 3 months later, they'll drop it as a box set. You have infinity to watch this. So I watched them both back to back, and they were very good. So I recommend those. Yes, that's me. Boom.
Okay, WandaVision, quickly.
Yes, Simon hasn't seen it, though.
No, I haven't seen it, so I'll be quiet for this.
Soap. It's just another soap, Simon. Just another soap.
I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Simon,
Oh, you have?
It's just
Yeah.
sitcoms. It's just sitcoms, and it's not worth watching. It's really
No, you've
bad.
seen the first 2 episodes, though. We can't fool them anymore. You just...
Yeah, I've seen the first 2 episodes.
It's taken a little while to get rolling. I mean, the clues have been there right from the beginning, but now everything's starting to piece together. And 6 was really quite entertaining, good action packed, and we're finally starting to see where we're going to go with this. So.
I didn't watch it. Binged 5 at the end of episode 5. If you're not hooked to this, like you have to watch them. But at the end of episode 5, you'll either be in or out.
Yeah.
I
The costumes in episode 6 were a nerd's wet dream. They were amazing. They were spot on, every single one of them.
It's the original
70s and
cartoon.
80s costumes.
And it looks gorgeous. It's like a motion picture. It's filmed the same
It's
as
got
a
Marvel
motion picture.
budget. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, well worth it. And like Kaz says, get to 5 and then make your mind up. Don't make your mind up on 1 or 2 because you're missing out, I think, if you make your mind up too early. Right.
And they're short. They're short. So
well,
pretty quick.
They're short, but sometimes you think, well, this episode's been going forever. Because they tend to pack a lot. They tend to pack a lot in there.
They do. To be fair, the 5th episode is the sneaky one because it's like 41 minutes long. So whereas the rest are, once you take out the ridiculous 8 minutes of credits, are only about 20 minutes long. So
yeah. No, good stuff. Right. So that's what we've been watching. We're going to move on to our next section next, which is our coming soon.
If you'd like to support the AVForums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AVForums to sign up. You can also make a one-off donation through the Super Chat or via streamlabs.com/AVForums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
So if you're not aware, our news editor and news writer, Andy Bassett, he puts together articles every month telling us what's coming up on the streaming services. So Netflix, Amazon, Sky, Now TV, Disney Plus, and so on. So if you want to know what's coming up for the next month, check out his articles. They are on the homepage. Very detailed. He'll pick out the best picks of what's coming up. So we've all read the articles for February and March. So we're going to go through what we think we're going to watch, and maybe you should watch too. So, Simon, I know you've only got 2 on the list here, so we'll get you done first.
Okay.
So,
the 2 that I picked out, both Netflix. I've mentioned one already, Paradise PD. That's that animated series that's coming up mid-March, the 3rd season. Gross out humor, not for the kids, but I loved it. So I'm looking forward to that. And there's a 7th season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine coming out as well. Again, I love that show. Again, irreverent, stupid, just mental. And harking back to what I said earlier, they actually had a crossover episode with New Girl, believe it or not, which I had to go back and view. It's in their 5th season. So there's a slight link there. But that's the only 2 that stuck out to me. But I did want to pose a question. When nothing new has come out, there's seems to be a massive backlash. That people saying, "Oh, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to pay for this. There's nothing new coming out." So I can never understand that. I mean, there's more on that platform than you can ever watch in your life. But because there's nothing new, you want to cancel your subscription. Doesn't figure with me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, because it is. If you actually look at the lists, Netflix, I think for March looks surprisingly thin, and Amazon have got some big hitters, and Disney, of course, have got Star Unleashed, and it looks like Netflix have dropped the ball. But actually, if you look at like the last year of what's come out on Amazon, and just about what everybody's been looking forward to has been Greenland last month, and coming to America this month, a couple of other things along the way. But Netflix has been releasing like loads of stuff, but the feeling is, oh, there's nothing coming to Netflix, cancel. You're quite right. It seems a bit,
yeah. I think the good thing is though, you can dip in and dip out if you want to with Netflix. You can cancel and then come back when you want to come back, and people will do that. What we should be worried about is if they start looking at doing it on a yearly subscription basis and tying you to contracts like Sky like to do. Yes, you can have it for $4.99 a month, but you've got to have it for 12 months or you end up paying the whole. So at the minute, I wouldn't complain too much because you can dip in and dip out when you want to. I think the downside of that is if they think they're losing too many, they might actually change the model, and then that does become expensive.
I mean, they are really big, good value for money.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I spend much more time there than on Amazon, and
although I've got to say, Amazon the last 2 months they've really picked up.
They have
films, new stuff that's coming along, originals and so on. Yeah, I think.
But judging them based on like 12 months, I reckon. I reckon it's Netflix all the way, and Disney. It's by comparison. They've still got a long way to come, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, one for me that's popped up on Netflix, 16th of February. I've never seen it. It's a George Lucas film, and I've never seen it. American Graffiti. Yeah. And I'm an absolute car nut, and I've never seen American Graffiti. It's one of those films passed me by, and I've just never seen it. It's happened a few times in my life where I've missed big films like that. So I'm definitely going to watch it. And I wish I was watching it in the theatre that's behind me. Does anybody know where that is?
No. Don't make us do this, Phil. Don't make us do this.
I've just given you a clue by mentioning the director.
George Lucas. Oh, is it in Lucas's ranch?
The Skywalker Ranch.
Skywalker Ranch. Is it?
It is indeed, yes. Yeah. It's the Stag Theatre at Skywalker Ranch. And I managed to sit in there back in 2014 and watch clips from Star Wars at full reference and on that big screen in George Lucas's own cinema in Skywalker Sound. And fantastic place. It was a real bucket list moment. So
sounds amazing. I mean, my background is what it looked like before they built it. So
well, Kaz, I've actually been there as well. Didn't stand in that exact spot, but I have been there as well. So yeah, American Graffiti is coming 16th of February. I haven't seen that. Maybe I should phone George and ask to watch it in the Stag Theatre. Yeah, maybe. I'm sure you'll tell me where to go. Detroit. I missed Detroit as well. Has anybody seen Detroit?
It's not a happy watch.
It's not, is it?
It's not. No, it's a very good, well-acted movie, but it's quite another powerful film from Bigelow, isn't it?
Yeah,
Catherine Bigelow. Yeah, it's a tough watch. People being not very nice to other people. A lot of injustice. Yeah, some good acting. Tough moments.
And based on true events again, isn't it?
Yeah,
So yeah, I quite fancy that. I missed it when it had the theatrical run. So again, that's popping up. Netflix 25th of February. Greenland, not seen that yet. But I will get around to watching that because it's on Prime. It's 4K.
Yeah, they've just upped it to 4K, haven't they? Because it wasn't 4K when it launched.
Was it not?
No, it's just this weekend they've suddenly decided to make it 4K, which is confusing. If that was available, why not do that from when it was launched?
Yeah, that sounds a bit odd. That so
make everybody watch it and then put it in 4K.
So I noticed it was 4K HDR, so I'll give that a whirl. And I'm not going to mention Falcon and Winter Soldier because it's the 19th of March and our next podcast is the 15th, so we'll talk about that then. But you mentioned it already, coming to America, 5th of March on Prime, Kaz, Eddie Murphy back. It's only a PG-13 though, so is it going to be as entertaining as the original? And I think, again, I haven't seen Coming to America for such a long time. Maybe I've got fond memories of it, and maybe it's a film of its time, which these things tend to be.
I think I've got to do some Eddie Murphy homework. I've never seen the first one.
Have you not? Right.
No, that's one that's passed me by.
Well, I think you might find it quite offensive, Tom.
In my snowflakey.
No. I mean that from a point of view that you didn't see it at the time it came out. In the
I see.
When it came out, and it was quite acceptable. A lot of the things that were mentioned and said and so on. I think a lot of the humor now would not make it into a script nowadays. I think it's certainly of its time. I think it'll come with this film was, you see it nowadays on Sky or whatever, and this film was made in a certain time period where things
reflects attitudes.
So you might get that, but it'll be interesting. I'm sure everybody's going to watch it because it's going to be free to watch. So. That's coming. So, Kaz, what you looking forward to?
Well, I'm quite looking forward to coming to America too. I reviewed the 4K disc of the first film recently, so it's relatively fresh in my mind. And I have to say, I don't think I'd ever sat down and watched it, lucid and unintoxicated. So I've properly watched the first Coming to America and enjoyed it recently. So I am looking forward to it. Not sure what they're going to do without him swearing, but I guess the first movie doesn't rely on his usual Eddie Murphy swearing business. His usual Eddie Murphy character is kind of at best represented by the barbershop people. The people in the barbershop are closer to his usual swearing. So it's only those people who have to be toned down. Him as the prince, come king, doesn't he have to do any swearing at all, because he was always very, very proper and reserved, and that was part of it. So maybe they can make it work. They just have to have the funniest bit, which is the barbershop quartet, be less sweary. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. And that's Amazon. Netflix, as I said, not a great deal of new, but we said that's okay. I'm quite interested in the Olga Kurylenko Sentinel, which I think is in French. I'm going to say French. I'm going to say French just because of the spelling of the word sentinel. But that sounds interesting. Special Forces ninja comes back, has to deal with some problems back home and rescue someone. My kind of thing. They could, it's Steven Seagal away from being a dream come true for me. And then it's I guess Disney for all the rest of it for me. Disney Star launches, and I'm looking forward to Big Sky primarily because I once read something bad about it, and now I'm not going to read anything about it, and I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist, because there's the notion, I think it's about private investigators, and it's got Ryan Philippe, he's pretty cool. It's got a bunch of people doing their shtick. I'm going to pretend that it's not bad and watch it and then review it badly. This is my plan.
I remember Ryan Philippe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's come straight from the early 2000s, has he not? What's he been doing for 20 years?
I don't know, but I wish he'd capitalized on that Where the Gun, Ryan Philippe, and not gone down the. Looks like he's had plastic surgery and had a lot of steroids injected, and become really ripped and done DTV movies that I don't know. It's anyway, let's see what happens to this Ryan. Let's see what Ryan Philippe we get. Probably not the one that I'm hoping for, because I don't think he's in the second season. So good on you, Disney, for dropping Big Sky so late. We also got Raya and the Last Dragon, and I want to bring this one up because that's 5th of March. And it's coming to Disney, and reportedly, and I got into one on the thread on the forums of this, it was supposed to be R-rated, and with the directors comparing it to John Wick. And I said on the forums, they've skipped the whole rating. There's nothing on Disney that's R-rated. It's all PG. So it's either PG or it's PG-13. So surely the directors are saying it was nearly PG-13, because this one's PG. This one's so it isn't even PG-13. How did the directors go from PG to R? And it's we were going to make it like John Wick. No, you weren't. You were going to make it slightly more action-packed and maybe hit a PG-13 rating, but you didn't get commissioned by Disney to make a movie that you thought honestly was going to be R-rated. The first R-rated Disney, animated.
Yeah, also the first Disney princess of the 2020s is gonna be kicking ass and taking names. Probably not.
Breaking Bones compound fractions is what they're going for. Proper Breaking Bones. I was reading the article and thinking, no, this is. No,
they're just going to rob you instead, Kaz, because it's 1999.
Yeah. Is it 90? What? Wait, what? No.
19, 19, no. It was 99 pence to rent it. Yes,
I paid for Disney.
No, it's on top of your Disney.
Come
so
on.
if you want to
What?
see it on the 5th of March, it's 20 quid.
Oh, sorry. If I want to see it on the 6th, it's free. Yeah, I remember what they did with the last movie. You just have to wait.
Yeah, if you want to see it, you have to wait to June to see it for free.
Yeah. I'm
5th of March, 20 quid.
Can't wait till June. I've got so much going on.
Yeah.
Boss Level. Now, where's Boss Level? It's coming to Hulu in the United States. I'm going to get angry, I can tell, with all of these US releases, that they seem to think it's a good idea to release them in the US on digital and then not release them in the UK because people can't access things that are digitally released in another country. It's impossible. So Boss Level is coming to Hulu 5th of March, and Disney, because they're listening to this podcast, are going to release it on Disney Star on the 5th of March because that would be the sensible option. It's really great.
There's no reason for them not to. There's no sane reason for them not to.
Rights issues and box ticking corporates who can't figure out why they can't prevent other territories from watching stuff when it's digitally released, whatever. Anyway, that's great, and I can't wait for that. And I actually want to do the review for it, so guys, please release it. And that's it. That's all I got, I think.
Okay, well, I think Star, myself and Tom put our options for Star a little bit further down on the running order, which I forgot about.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's okay. So Tom's going to give us all his stuff in a minute. So I just wanted to mention on Star, it's all rerun stuff for me. The fact that Ed Wood is on there, I have to watch that film again. I haven't seen that for 15 odd years. I really hope it's 4K. I really hope it's done like that, because there's a whole raft of movies coming to Star, and my fingers are crossed that a lot of those are going to be in 4K. Another one, unfortunately, Ed's left us now, but one of Ed's favourites and one of my favourites, Animation Titan AE.
That's brilliant. That's one of Joss Whedon's early script punch-ups.
Yep.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I love that to bits. And it was a demo disc for a long time because it came with a full bitrate DTS soundtrack back in the day when it was on DVD.
Soundtrack for Titan AE. I can't remember how old. I was a teenager when it came out. Anyway, the soundtrack for Titan AE slaps. It is amazing. Like it's got all your emo 90s stuff on there. Lit is on there. Power Man 5000. He's the brother of Rob Zombie. He's on there. It's amazing. It's just 45 minutes of pumping tunes. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Really looking forward to Star, because there's loads of movies like that. The other thing is the Muppet Show's on there, 1976 to 1981. So the classic Muppet Show, the one that I grew up with, and I was a toddler when 1976. I was born 74, so I remember these as I was growing up, season 1 to 5. So I'm going to dip into those, and I'm not going to watch them all, but I'll dip in and watch the ones that take my fancy, the special guests and so on that's on there. X-Files, if it's a high quality presentation, I'm going to sit and go through this X-Files again, especially the first couple of seasons, which were the strongest and the best.
You could probably stop after that. Maybe season 3. You could probably stop after that.
I think you're right there. And Family Guy, I absolutely adore Family Guy, and I've lost touch with it in terms of seasons and episodes. So I'd like to try and get some structure back in there and get back to watching Family Guy, because it kind of went off the rails a bit when they killed Brian. Spoilers. He comes back again because they realised they made a mistake. But yeah, around about that time, I kind of lost touch with it. So I'd like to go back and watch those. So those are for me. And I'm really looking forward to Start. Like I say, there's a list. It's in Andy's piece, which is on the screen at the minute if you're watching us live. There's a full list in there of the films that are coming to the service, and there's some absolute crackers in there. I'm going to get my money's worth out of it anyway. Right, Tom, your turn.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll just briefly say a couple of things. In terms of back catalogue stuff, Us is coming to Netflix. That's the second Jordan Peele written and directed by, and I'm going to watch it again. I felt mixed about it when I saw it the first time, but I want to give it another crack because I feel like maybe I missed something. I just want to give it another chance because Get Out is so good that there's no reason for me not to like Us. It can't be a not very good movie. I refuse to accept that it's a not very good movie. So I'm going to watch it again and find out why it is in fact a good movie. And yeah, the back catalogue stuff coming to Star is super exciting. And it means that there is a place now that you can watch all of Atlanta. So if you've never watched Donald Glover's, I was going to call it a sitcom. It's not really. It's like a comedy drama about him essentially managing his friend who is becoming like an online rap sensation. And it is blindingly funny. It is just so good, completely deadpan. And obviously Donald Glover is multi-talented and excels at everything that he does. He's some sort of magic man, and it's a great show. So 2 seasons of that will be on Star, and I super recommend that. You should check that out if you haven't before. In terms of new stuff, coming to Amazon well, it's kind of at the end of March, so I might be jumping the gun a bit here, but I want to give it a mention anyway. It's Invincible. It's an animated superhero show based on Robert Kirkman's comics. Robert Kirkman, if you don't know who he is, he invented The Walking Dead. He's the writer of The Walking Dead, and this is his take on superheroes. And it is similarly dark, and it's kind of a shame that it's coming out after The Boys, because The Boys has covered a lot of this grim humor in superheroes, and Invincible takes a lot of the same sort of beats, at least in the source material in the comic. But I remember reading the first volume of Invincible and it being a jaw dropper. So it'll be interesting to see if that translates to TV. But that's hitting Amazon Prime mid to end of March. So yeah, jumping the gun a bit, but I was just quite excited to see it. And new stuff hitting. Well, it's not. Well, it's new to us anyway. It's Hellstrom, which is an MCU add-on, which has already been cancelled. So it'll be interesting.
It's already out.
So, yeah, it's come.
It looks
and
great.
It's done.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping it's a 1-season wonder, because those are always fun.
not a cliffhanger then.
It'll definitely be a cliffhanger. You can't have a season of TV without a cliffhanger. We found out today that Truth Seekers has been cancelled just as it was getting really good. So yeah, don't get invested in
What
any
did you just say?
television shows.
Truth Seekers.
Apparently so. Nick Frost confirmed today.
Oh,
Yeah. Don't get invested in television. It's just not worth it. Wait until you've got 8 seasons of something and then binge it all in one go, basically. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. I sounded quite grumpy now. I'm not really grumpy.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Mark for Death is coming.
That sounds like a Steven Seagal movie, Kat.
It is, and there is a sideways chance if it's coming to Disney, they might find a way of putting it in 4K. 4K Steven Seagal.
Oh, imagine that! Imagine the hair and the beard in 4K.
What?
no,
He doesn't have a beard back then, and his hair was mostly his own back then.
He had real
This was
hair
a
back
long
then.
time- Yeah, it was pre-horse.
Okay.
It's the good days.
We need the whole thing. We need
Vaselined up in 4K. Yeah?
He was
Yeah.
he had cool lines in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's like one running Seagal montage.
I've definitely seen it, because I've definitely seen all of them, but I can't for the life of me remember what happens in that
This
one.
is
They're
this
all
is the
the
one where he
same.
has to fight Screwface. who's
That's
a
not the
twin.
one where he has to throw a CD at someone's head, is it?
No, this is the one where he fights the voodoo gang.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one. It's
That's a
coming
good
to
one.
Disney. It's a good one. Yeah, it's like in his first 3 movies, so it's a good chance of being good. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Danny Trejo's in the opening scene and gets clotheslined by Steven Seagal, and he does the
Value for
running
money.
thing. He does the running thing back when he could run, and it's the crazy flipping arms running. It's a lot of fun. It's worth a search for a GIF or 2 of Steven Seagal running. Yeah. Anyway, yes, there you go.
Yeah, great stuff. And Condo 007 in the chat has just said, "Are you a big Seagal fan, Kaz?"
No, I hate the guy.
I think there's a sarcasm there. I think
There's
there's
yeah,
maybe.
I could do a whole podcast on Steven Seagal, and I'd slowly slip into
But
depression.
you're not getting the opportunity to. So.
Coming up next March, we're going to be talking pure Seagal.
You wait,
No, we're
if he
not.
ever released another movie, that's what would happen.
We have to
Seagal
think.
all
We
the
have to
time.
think of people's mental health these days, Pete.
Yes,
So
yes.
we won't inflict them with that. But yes, there's been lots of questions in the chat actually about it. Die Hard, is it going to be in 4K on Star? Is this going to be in 4K on Star? We don't know. So fingers crossed, people, that the presentation is up to scratch. I mean, I'll be
Let's
happy
find
with
out
it.
together.
Yeah, you know what? I'm doubly excited because I hope that A, it comes to 4K because it's Disney Star, and B, the fact it comes to 4K would give people an indication of what we might get on disc eventually. So even if the presentation in 4K isn't perfect on Disney, it might mean that we get like some special edition of Mark for Death in 4K, or whatever else it might be, because they've got a whole bunch of titles that are coming which would be really nice in 4K.
Hey Kaz, I've got some magic beans I'd like to sell you.
Like what happened to all of the Die Hard sequels after Die Hard came out in 4K?
Yeah.
Or Solaris in 4K. If you want to talk something that would look special, so it'd be interesting to see what comes to 4K in Disney also, because it might mean that somewhere out there is a 4K master, and hello, everyone's at home, stick it on disc, guys.
Right. Well, that kind of wraps up that section, which again is overrun a little bit, but this is the first one. We're just we're just making our way, finding what works, what doesn't work. If you're enjoying the podcast, if you like what we're talking about at the minute and you're watching us live, then please do hit the like button. It does help the podcast. It helps us get found in the algorithm that is YouTube, and it helps people find us and come along and watch. So if you don't mind, if you are watching at the moment, or if you're watching a little bit later in the week, then do hit the like button. It is appreciated. Now, of course, you could also subscribe if you'd like. We're not too far away from 100,000 subscribers. So if you'd like to help us in that cause, then please subscribe as well. Right. We will be back in a second with our feature presentation.
If you enjoy the podcast on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, then please leave us a rating on your podcast app. We invite you to email questions and feedback to podcast@avforums.com and join in with this episode's discussion thread in the podcasts forum at AVForums.
So hopefully it does feel a little bit like the Odeon, where you've been sitting going through all the adverts and then the trailers and so on. Now we're getting to the main feature of the night, and it's a film that we've all made an effort to watch. We've all been watching it on the streaming service, which if you'd said that to me a couple of years ago, I'd have said, you what? Everybody watch it, and we're all going to talk about the quality and all the rest of it because it's on a streaming service. But I'm going to say right now, news of the world. We'll get into the feature and everything else in a minute, because I know Tom really wants to talk about that to start with, and then we'll get into other things. But I've got to say, I watched this on the projector from Netflix. A 4K presentation in Dolby Atmos. So I was watching it on a scope screen at 10 foot wide. So if it wasn't up to snuff, you were going to see that it wasn't up to it. And it looked fantastic. It looked really, really good. Now, I do have a good internet connection, but at the same time, I think Netflix tends to max out around about 16 meg. So it's more the compression that they're using that makes sure that the quality is good. But watching it on a projector at 10 foot wide on a scope screen with Atmos sound, it was like a cinema presentation. It was like watching it on disc. I could not fault the quality whatsoever. But Tom's going to tell us all about the film first of all, and then we're all going to chip in with what we thought, what we liked, what we didn't like. And we're going to try and do this without any spoilers, because we know that a lot of you probably haven't seen this yet. So we're going to skirt around spoilers where we can. But Tom, what was it about, and why did it draw your attention to start with?
So it was new to Netflix this month, just a couple of weeks ago, just last week. Although it did technically have a limited cinema run over Christmas in the US. So it's I have a feeling it's trying to tip itself for Ostnoms, but it's a Paul Greengrass, Tom Hanks movie. So Paul Greengrass directing, Tom Hanks starring, just like they did with 2013's Captain Phillips, which was really well received. And this is a story about another captain, Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd. He's an ex-Confederate officer who now is a literal newsreader. That's his job. He walks from town to town, reading the news to the people who don't have access to it normally. But on his journey from one place to another, he comes across an accident, a death, and an orphan girl. And upon picking her up, he vows to return her to her aunt and uncle after she was taken captive by the Kiowa Native Americans in an attack on a German settlement years earlier. So that's the concept. That's where we start the film, essentially. And it's not a new idea. It's not a new story, isn't it? I don't think I'm mischaracterizing it in saying that I think a lot of people's criticism.
It's a story that's been told 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's been set in a world that we know. And if you've ever watched a Western, you get the tropes, and the tropes are all there.
Absolutely. I think it's a valid criticism. If you want to say about it that it doesn't do anything new, you would be absolutely spot on. It doesn't. But so before I get into the content, I just want to say how great it was from a reviewing perspective to see a movie that was just basically really well made. Like, whatever you think of the story, I think it's just got this excellent craftsmanship throughout from a bunch of professionals who just know exactly what they're doing. Like the performances, the direction, the shooting, the script. It's like, I'm going to get some heat for this, but it's like a really well-made chair. Like, I don't know if this is a great metaphor, a great simile. It's like, it's a really nice chair. Like, it hasn't got a cup holder. It's not going to give you a massage, but you can sit in it and you can just think like,
it's comfy.
This is a really comfortable thing to be in. I am more than happy to sit in this chair for 2 hours. My compliments to the carpenter or whoever makes chairs. Who makes chairs?
All I say to that analogy, Tom, is that my bum did get a little bit numb.
But yeah, I just want to say, good job, chair guy.
It did dip a little in the middle for me.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it because it was entertaining. So yeah. So on you go with the content side of things then.
Oh well, I was just I don't know if I just wanted to ask if you guys agree basically about the like, do you agree? Am I just obsessed with chairs? Like
I think it's a good metaphor. I really do, because like I said, it's welcoming. You know where you go, what you're going to get. You know there's going to be messages in there. They're going to highlight certain things that reflect on our society right now, even though was it 1897 or was it 1887? I think it was
1870.
Was it 70? Was it? Right. So, you know, they're trying to reflect things that are going on in that time period that, you know, we see in the world today, and all that, but it doesn't hit you over the head with it. You know, it joins the dots and all the rest of it for you, but it leaves it at that. It doesn't over-egg it like a James Cameron Avatar. You know what I mean? Ferngully and all the rest.
I think they hint at the things that don't even hint. I mean, it's quite obvious, but like it doesn't seem incongruous to everything else that's going on. It feels perfectly organic to the story they want to tell. To have you know, a lot of racism, a lot of disputes over, you know, Texas not wanting to integrate and not wanting to abolish slavery, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, it's well integrated into a story to make it relevant without seeming out of place. No one in here is making a message that doesn't perfectly suit this narrative.
Yeah. Simon, what's your thoughts?
I really enjoyed it, actually. It's like a comfy chair.
I really hope they put that on the box copy now.
4K. It's like a comfy chair. No, I really enjoyed it actually. To play devil's advocate, there are a couple of little nitpicks that I felt with it. If I can be so bold, the young girl. Forgot her name. What's the actress's name?
Helena Zengel.
Helena Zengel.
Brilliant. She was fantastic.
She was, yeah.
She was really, really good. Didn't have to do much.
No.
But what she did do was great.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Her character, on the other hand, so Tom's just said she was kidnapped by the Kiowa Indians. And her and Captain Kidd get into various altercations along the way. And one of them, I have to pose the question, where did she get the knowledge from to be able to take the bird shot out of a cartridge and reload it with 10-cent ceases to make it a more powerful weapon?
She's a resourceful young woman, Simon.
Yeah.
A resourceful young woman.
Instinct.
Okay.
I think with things like that, you have to kind of go. Because I did think that as well.
You think, hang on a minute. But anyway, yeah. So that's a very minor nitpick there. The other thing that I found, you mentioned it in your review, Tom, the episodic nature of the thing. That's probably something to do with the fact that it came from a book, and you've got your chapters and the way it was filmed and the way it went along. But I do have to say, I kind of felt that the whole thing had a, if I can borrow the term, a Walking Dead syndrome, in that everyone they came across wanted to do them harm in some way. There was no good people on the trek that they had, and that's kind of not a realistic. I mean, I've no doubt that in the time that it was filmed, that life was hard. It was obviously difficult, settling in new places, farming, all that. Sure, it was difficult, but surely there's got to be some nice people out there.
I think, I see what you're saying. Like the bits that they made a show out of were like the guy who ran, they visit a town together, which is a new town set up under less than ideal circumstances. And the guy who runs it is a pantomime villain. There is like no subtlety in this.
Dressed like the Mad Hatter.
You will read my evil news because I am an evil man. And you're spot on with it. Like it was a caricature. But there are moments in it as well of nice people. I've forgotten the character name, but Elizabeth Marvel played Hanks's friend SWB, right? And that was quite a nice touching moment in the confusion and the moment that they completely blew with there is a meeting with the Kiowa Indians, and they royally screwed the pooch on that one. If you want my opinion on it, like that should have been a big moment, and they kind of missed a trick with it. But yeah, it's not all bad, but the stuff they make a show of is very, very. You're right. Walking Dead people are bad. People are bad and want to do bad things.
But on the other side of the coin, Hanks is very, very dependable. I was just going to say, never anywhere in doubt, is there? You know where it's going. Yeah. He's a very, very good character in it, and he's always going to be the protector.
I was just going to say, he carries this.
Absolutely,
he absolutely carries it. And I think if it was another actor playing the role, I don't think it'd be.
You don't want the action star, do you, carrying this film? Because then you expect the retaliatory parts of it, but you didn't get that, which was quite refreshing. I felt.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it was a very family.
My last point. My very last point on this is Paul Greengrass, the director. Why can't he hold that camera still?
I've got to say,
what is the matter with him?
I didn't think it was as bad, to be honest.
No,
Now,
it
from what
wasn't.
we've
He had
seen-
lots of like set.
Yeah, I've got to
shots.
say that I think the cinematography was really quite good. It wasn't mind blowing.
No.
It wasn't, Oscar winning or anything like that, but it was nicely done. It's what you would expect from the period piece. There wasn't anything flashy in there. Now, there are action bits where, of course, it did change to being a bit more handheld when characters were, running around and trying to hide and that kind of thing. But it flowed. It wasn't like,
It wasn't ultimatum, born ultimatum.
no, it wasn't
I
a
agree.
porn ultimatum where you were getting a headache and trying to figure out who was winning the fight because you couldn't see anything that was going on. It was a lot more laid back. I think technically it's a very well made movie. The only downside I think was the score. Very forgetful.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly memorable.
There wasn't really a theme or anything that it was functional. And it got you from A to B, but it was nothing memorable. Whereas, some of my memories of some of the best westerns that I've watched, or pieces like that, as a genre, the score has been a huge part of what makes those movies. And I think it was just really, it was underscored, I think, and it didn't really stand out. But the audio sound mix, there's one single gunshot.
Yeah. It destroys the soundscape. It's amazing. So...
and in Atmos, it was phenomenal. And there's a dust storm as well, which if you want to hear object-based surround properly, it's phenomenal. And it leads into the point that Tom made, where he wanted something a bit more to come from that scene, whereas I thought they played it perfect because they cut the audio of what was being said and so on. So it was an almost a lost in translation type thing where you don't actually know what happened in the scene. You just know what the outcome of the scene was. And I thought they did that really well with the sound mix because it was a storm. So things were all around you and you couldn't hear what was going on at that point. So I get what you're saying, Tom, because all the way through the movie, I thought there was going to be some point to it where we were going to meet them. But I quite liked the way that worked. And of course there is there is going to be fights and so on. And again, you get what you expect from the sound mix, especially in Atmos. Some of the lower notes as well. And I mean, you've got to remember that this is Dolby Digital Plus served Atmos. It's not full true HD Atmos, but still the dynamics were there. It was really, really well done. And it was a proper cinematic presentation. I didn't feel like I was missing anything by not seeing this in the cinema. I don't know if I'd have gone to the cinema to see this, but in terms of the technical presentation, I thought it was spot on.
I'm going to be controversial here and say I don't like Netflix Dolby Vision.
Well, I didn't watch it in Dolby Vision.
Oh, there was.
It isn't Dolby Vision.
No, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. I find that Netflix Dolby Vision, I sometimes, and it's not always the case for TV shows, but I sometimes dread it because they can go really dark and too dark. I feel like whoever decides to apply Dolby Vision to their Netflix production cycle does it in a very fixed way that just ends up with something that's overly dark. So when I watch this, the dark scenes are dark, but you can always see what's going on. Yeah, I find Netflix Dolby Vision by and large means the opposite of that. So I was very happy. This isn't a Netflix movie.
No,
they've just bought this.
Yeah,
but so they don't have their standard Dolby Vision stock on. But the night sequences when he's wandering through a really dark camp or candlelight sequences, I felt like
the opening of the film was incredibly dark.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was beautifully lit. That first scene.
But it was still, but the key is it was still, you could still see what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that should be the beauty of HDR. I mean, the fact that they might not push and everybody thinks about peak highlight when you think about HDR and PQE UTF, and I'm not going to get technical here, but the whole reason we went to PQ is the fact that you've got so much more in terms of the black levels and your midtones to play with. You've got more digital code, basically, if I'm going to oversimplify it. So you've got more to play with. You can bring out more of what's in the shadows and make a scene like that stand out more without it turning into crush, and crushing all the detail out. And even on the JVC projector I watched it on, the HDR10, that was what I noticed more was the shadow detail. There was lots of shadow detail.
I did think there was space for, because did you get it in HDR?
Did I get an HDR?
Yeah.
Yeah, HDR10, yeah.
Was it? Because I could only I could I could see it in 4K, but I didn't get the little thing that tells me I'm seeing HDR. So I'm wondering if that was a mess up of my system rather than the broadcast.
I'll double check that one, because like I say, I was watching on the projector, and I'm pretty positive it was.
Okay, because I was just about to say that I thought it was a shame that we weren't getting it, just because there are so many scenes that are so like perfectly lit, and you think of the moment when Kid and Cicada are sitting down together for their first night on the road, and the sun setting in the background, and the sky is like this brilliant blue, and they're lit by the fire, and there's like a band of white just across the horizon. And I was just looking at it thinking, like, this is gorgeous. I wonder if it could have been more gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go and check that.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. But yeah, I thought, I thought an HDR grade on it could have just jazzed it, Yeah, exactly. But you think maybe it didn't need the extra pass, Kaz?
I think it didn't need Dolby Vision.
Okay.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what it is that Netflix does. I mean, do you ever find Simon? Do you ever find that Dolby Vision is too dark on Netflix?
It does. Yeah. I mean, my TV doesn't do Dolby Vision, so I don't get the Dolby Vision flag. But I do get that their HDR content can be extremely dark.
I don't know what that's about. I mean, I guess it must be a choice. Maybe they think that you can handle dark now, so we're going to give you dark. But there's one movie, and it's going to kill me. It's one of the earlier Netflix originals. I'm gonna see if I can.
Not another Western, is it?
No, it isn't. But but there's whole swathes of it where it's just impermanently
black.
Yeah, it's
it's a real shame. But I mean, when it's good actually. The bright end of it, I think they do very, very well.
Yes. And the TV shows and things like Altered Carbon, I think it really, it's really good. It's called Hold the Dark, ironically. I found it.
Oh, I've seen
Hold
that.
the Dark. Yeah. And
you can't see a thing that's going on in that movie.
You can't see a thing that's going. It's like it's intentional. We're going to do this on purpose because is that someone naked there? It's kind of that kind of moment in there. It's Jeffrey Wright, Alexander Skarsgård, and Riley Keough, and there are some scenes in it where you're really going, what's going on here? It's not like it's crushed out at all. It's just dark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm not really sure what they were going for, but Hold the Dark. Yep, you can have it back.
They've improved since that, for sure. Like you say, they get it, like they tend to get it right on the shows that are more I don't know, I want to say like overproduced, like that.
Yes,
like you say, Altered Carbon, but maybe that's not overproduced, but it is very highly produced.
Yes,
so that they seem to manage it less well with like natural lighting on there. But for like in terms of this though, that it was gorgeous to look at. But then, like you say, it's not a Netflix production.
No, that's what I mean. I was so happy that it wasn't a Netflix original in Dolby Vision, because I was like, oh, I can actually see it. So favorite westerns. Come on, what are we talking about here? Open Range? What's going on?
What?
Open Range is an interesting one, man. That was talked about on the forums recently. It's like that was like Kevin Costner's comeback movie.
It was Robert Duvall being Robert Duvall being
Yeah.
Robert Duvall.
It
I have
was-
a lot of time for Open Range.
But that's like, I would say that Open Range is like purist, like Western, right? It's
Oh,
like,
are we breaking them down into
I don't know, I don't
neo-Western
know,
and
because I was-
revisionist Western high
Yeah.
hand?
I was
And-
watching News of the World, like expecting more True Grit. More Cohen True Grit, and what I got was more like John Wayne True Grit. Do you know what I mean? It was really in the classic
pure Western. Yeah.
Yeah. It just had some like really gorgeous, like some really snazzy like cinematography to top it off. Like all of the, I mentioned in the review, there's a lot of visual like division in the shots, which I thought was just subtle enough to work really, really well to like point you in the direction of this is a divided land. You know, it's like we see it and we don't need to be told it. And I thought that was really, really nice in it. But on that sort of on that topic, I watched the movie and I wrote the review and I sort of raved about this idea of like, isn't it great that it can so perfectly like capture America as this volatile, divided land, and that really worked for me. And in the days afterwards, I was thinking like, no, that's depressing as hell. Like the more I think about it, the more depressing I find it, because this is 250 years ago, right? And America is still dealing with this exact same bullshit. People are still like waving Confederate flags south of the Mason-Dixon line. Do you know what I mean? It's this is the same division that we're dealing with now. It kind of,
I don't want to go to that town. It was
yeah,
it's like when I was watching it, I was thinking this is Tom Hanks's Western version of Mad Max.
yeah.
They just rolled into some kind of Mad Max town, you know.
Yeah. You just think like the little message of let's set aside our differences and come together as a nation is like, no, sorry, News of the World, America's not going to do that. They're never going to do that. I don't think that was the intention of the film to make me think that, but like it's left me with a bit of a bitter taste, if I'm honest, whenever I'm thinking about it. Like, if only this was like, imagine things so awful in the past. Like, no, it's still that bad. It's still the same.
I think that was kind of the message, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was. It was depressing though. That's depressing. I thought it was that deep.
It was like,
it's not
look
deep.
at this, 250 years and we're still.
We can pull together. No,
Yeah.
You're never going to.
So no, it was SDR. It's,
okay.
It's 4K SDR. I just double checked it there. So yeah. So I mean, even for that, I mean, obviously it's calibrated on the projector, but.
Oh, I love that. Let me get my book. Times that Phil was wrong. I'm going to write this down somewhere.
Okay. It doesn't happen very often, so yeah.
No, it's a very small book.
Yeah, this is the first. This is the first entry.
Put my hands up. I watched a couple of films that night, so obviously I've just got myself mistaken. But yeah, it's 4K Ultra HD. It is Dolby Atmos, but there's no HDR metadata. It comes up as SDR.
But my point of it all was that there's no Dolby Vision and it's not a Netflix original, and so you can actually see.
It's funny you say that, because I there's not a lot of times that when I watch a film on Netflix, I watch it on the projector. So I don't get Dolby Vision, so I'm gonna have to go and have a
try it. Well, while you were away, we talked about the film ironically titled "Hold the Dark." I would love to see your thoughts on. Just watch a bit of it. Try and get to the scene where one of the girls is naked. Get to that scene and let me know how dark your projector can go. It's a spectacular bit of just.
I'll watch it twice just to make sure. So I'll watch it. And then I'll watch it. I'm serious, and then I'll watch it on the TV and Dolby Vision.
Yeah, and compare it.
Compare and contrast, and I'll see what the skin tones is like.
Could have taken their own advice with that movie. One thriller, please. Hold the Dark.
Yeah, exactly. It is. That's what it sounds like. We just vaguely touched on best westerns and run out of time completely. But are we? What? Are
Oh,
we
best
all
best
gonna-
westerns has got to be Back to the Future Part 3, isn't it?
Oh, I like Back to the Future Part 3. But no,
But no.
best westerns. Are we going Wild Bunch?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's yeah. I was gonna the Searchers, that this is sort of like that News of the World sort of followed the mold of. I love the Searchers.
What are we classing though? Like, can you class Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia as a western?
Sure.
Yeah.
Neo Western. Come on,
That's it.
let's get the
I'm
genre
there.
tags out, shall we?
Does it identify itself as a western?
It's a very quirky film about a guy who carries around a dead head in his
Yeah.
car and talks to it as he's slowly going crazy while shooting people in slow motion, courtesy of Sam Peckinpah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's Warren Oates, so it's got to be a western. I'm
Yeah.
almost certain he signed up to only do westerns. Even Blue Thunder with a helicopter in it is still a western. But yeah, if that counts, I'd probably shoot for that. I guess out of classics.
Yeah, Shane. I think that's just come
Shane.
to mind. Shane is my all-time perfect western. I
My-
could watch Shane anytime.
My all-time perfect western is not of the traditional mold, and that is Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves.
It's
Very good.
it's just an absolutely, you either like the film or you don't like the film, because it doesn't go anywhere. It's not all out action or anything like that. It's just, I think the John Barry score, and it's one of them times where they hit gold with it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a cracking movie, but I can't say that I've wanted to revisit it post Avatar. It's really weird. I love the movie, but like after Avatar, I feel like Avatar just cribbed from so many
Avatar
movies.
just got it so right. It did it better
They
than
just-
Dances
they
with
just-
Wolves.
They just made a mockery of it in a way, and so I feel a bit, badly served by that, because it's like Dances with Wolves are trying to take it seriously, and Avatar are just trying to strip it back into its barest parts. But I will revisit that, Phil, because you have reminded me that it is a quality movie. And
What about you, Simon? Are you a westerns guy?
Yeah, I've got, believe it or not, I've got 7 films listed here for my best.
7.
7, yeah.
Are
One of
they?
which has already been
Are they
mentioned.
magnificent?
Oh, no. Although,
Do-
it's
do
just
any of them-
alright.
Do any of them include pasta?
Yeah,
Yes,
actually, but I
hopefully.
counted them as one. I
Okay.
called them the Dollars Trilogy.
Mhm.
Oh, nice. And
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in the West is in there.
Yes.
No,
Maybe. No.
no.
Whoa.
Go on.
No, see, I've gone.
Let's hear
I've gone
Simon's list. Come on.
so I've got. You've already mentioned Wild Bunch. Okay.
Yeah.
The Dollars Trilogy. You can't mention westerns without the Dollars Trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah, so they have to be in there. Probably my own personal favourite. Now, this is very, very difficult choice for me, but I went with Outlaw Josie Wales, which I adore,
Yeah.
love it to death, and a companion piece to that, which you could probably watch immediately afterwards and see, hey, this is the same guy, is Unforgiven.
Yes. There's a
Which I
really clear
absolutely love
line,
that.
isn't there, between this
Yeah.
is what happens when
Yep.
when he loses it.
Yeah.
So,
I'd
I
say
mean,
so,
yeah. And Unforgiven, of course, is on 4K, and it is a spectacular disc.
Yeah, you reviewed
absolutely
that.
wonderful. Yeah,
Yes.
it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then to go a little bit out there, because we like a little bit out there. Carry On Cowboy. What's not to love? Sid James in a Drain. Come on, what's not to love? You got Blazing Saddles. Mel
I've never
Brooks.
seen Blazing.
Oh, come on.
Ooh.
I've
Good.
never
Sitting around the
seen it.
campfire.
Is that the best Mel Brooks comedy, Blazing Saddles? It's
Oh,
it's
close.
one of the
Young
two
Frankenstein.
best. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the other one, Tom?
Young Frankenstein for sure.
All right.
Those are the like peak Mel Brooks, right?
Yeah.
But Blazing Saddles is just a joke every second. It's amazing.
And if you want to go way out there, what about Way Out West, Lowell and Hardy?
Ah,
Come on.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's a lovely
I
one.
love-
Oh, thanks, Simon. That's
I-
a really nice
I
one.
love Way Out West.
Yeah.
That's the one where he turns up in a bar and they've been out and they've been parched for like days, and they get to a bar and they have enough to buy one soda, and they put the money down and they're going to share this soda. So they get a glass, and Hardy is so nice. He says, "You drink your half first." Laurel picks up the glass and he drinks the whole lot. He puts it down, and Hardy goes, What? You've drunk the whole guy? And Laurel's like, "Yeah, my half was the bottom half." It's absolutely tremendous movie. Love it. Love it.
There's some good suggestions coming up on the chat. Like someone's mentioned Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Okay, like
wow.
in terms of recent entries. Wow.
That's a multi-genre movie. that
Boy,
one.
oh boy, the
Yeah.
ending of that movie.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going
so
to store
that
some
came,
weapons in some interesting places.
So that was Gareth Little. Thanks for your suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. And
Gary
Lee
Hall.
Jones has said Hateful Eight. I don't know if I agree with that.
Mm.
I don't know if I like the Hateful Eight. Is that
Oh,
all right? I
not
don't think
seen
I
it.
like that film. It was too long. It was too
It's a
long.
Quentin Tarantino master.
I think I like all Tarantino movies, but I think I don't like them as much when I think about them later. After I did like Hollywood a lot. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but
Yeah.
I think that the more I think about Hateful Eight and Django, the more I feel like I need to watch them again, because I really enjoyed them when I first saw them, and then afterwards
I couldn't get through
slowly thought,
Django.
I thought, I think Tarantino's dividing into camps there, isn't he? Because I wasn't a massive fan of Inglourious Basterds, and I wasn't a massive fan of Hateful Eight, but I loved his like schlock. I really liked Django. I think he's got his two modes, hasn't he? He's got his like super like Hollywood obsessed, worthy, well, not worthy necessary, but like deep lore in his movies, and then he's got movies which he just makes because they're nonsense, and I think I prefer the nonsense to the self-serious stuff.
I
Who
think
doesn't?
Gary Hall says the best Western is Star Wars.
Oh no,
Well-
Star Wars is the best samurai movie. Come on, get it
go
right.
down this road and we're going to start including samurai movies in here, aren't we? Blatantly.
Yojimbo is the best Western.
Yeah, exactly. When Kurosawa started stealing, was it Henry Ford Westerns was he going for?
Mhm,
He was shooting for spaghetti Westerns by way of samurai movies,
mhm.
which is so ironic given that, they just doubled down and they made the Fistful of Dollars movie.
Yeah.
I always, when I was younger, I always tried to find correlations between the Fistful of Dollars sequel, for a few dollars more, and the Yojimbo sequel, Sanjuro, of which there are none.
Yeah.
But I tried to do it because I wanted to. But yeah, they've remade Yojimbo, Fistful of Dollars so many times. Last Man Standing. There's a Van Damme film called Desert Heat. There's there's another one recently. They just love remaking. Two towns going to war and some mercenary stuck in the middle. But yeah, there are a lot of good westerns. Mando's a good shout for a good western. Funny. I would say of western TV shows, you couldn't hope for much better than Mando in terms of episodic enjoyment and season building. I really love him dipping from town to town.
Yeah,
it was exactly like the show that Leo DiCaprio is making in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's what The Mandalorian is.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be right. So before we finish up on this genre discussion, I mean, obviously, when you think of westerns, a lot of us think back to films of the past. So is it a genre that is finding its feet again with modern audiences?
Well, I think westerns have always been a funny thing, haven't they? Because doesn't appear to be the kind of genre that makes really big buck at the box office.
Yeah, it had its heyday.
Yeah,
like 2006, 2007, when we had like No Country, Brokeback Mountain. Like that was its like, oh, westerns can be good again,
But it's been a decade or more.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and even then, those were a few exceptions that straggled beyond it. I think even back in the day of like Unforgiven, that was a big, we could watch a Western and give it an award.
Yeah.
It's not just dirty people shooting with bad pistols,
Mhm.
you know. But yeah, it'd be interesting. We've always had exceptions, but I can't remember, you know, big blockbuster box office Westerns. Not in terms of budget, they don't cost that much, but in terms of results. And it's a shame, but there are, you know, it'll always be there, because you can tell anyone who wants to make a decent kind of modern noir, modern thriller, goes down that Western, you know, Sheridan route, the way he did for Wind River and Hell and High Water. I mean, they're pure neo-Western. I mean, right down to having Jeff Bridges in a cowboy hat, you know, and there are lots of Western themed things. Just shooting them in the Wild West, I mean, I feel like it's a tough sell to studios. I feel like the studios just turn around and go, "You want to do what?"
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's like you say, it's the curse of like the genre movie, which is that inevitably it'll get funded and it'll get made, but it will get like this slot. You are a Western, this is what we expect in terms of like what you will do for us, the kind of money we'll make, and we're not going to really push it for it. And it's, you know, it's often the same for science fiction, it's often the same for so any like established like genre piece, which is a shame, because now and then you'll see something break out and win all the awards, and suddenly everyone will say, "Oh, they can be good. Those science fiction films can be good. Westerns can be good." And
yeah, it's crazy.
and there's a little cabal. There's like a little group of us go, "They were always good, you idiots."
It is weird to think about Heaven's Gate, Michael Cimino, and him. Didn't he basically almost bankrupt the studio because
Certainly did.
built a whole town. And then once it was built, he went, "I want it over there a little bit, and I'm going to move it a bit. So let's just build the whole thing again." And I mean, it's back in the days of proper Hollywood excess. And you just think things like that maybe killed the Western for a little bit, because no one will ever get a budget for a Western.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, even this Tom Hanks movie, like, it had some good scenes in it, but I did notice a couple of ropey effects when he was
Boy, the
at
CG was
speed. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Wasn't it? It's like,
Well, I guess that's you know, so that's just the way things are. I mean, back in its heyday, in Licensed Taxman mentioned it, How the West Was Won. What a fantastic piece of filmmaking technology that introduced, which was Cinerama. So I'm not sure if you're aware of what Cinerama was, but it was filmed on 3 cameras, and then it was shown in the cinema on 3 projectors on a huge curved screen. And I had the opportunity when I was in LA a number of years ago to go to the actual Cinerama cinema there with this huge curved screen. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see How the West Was Won or any Cinerama content when I was there. It was Avatar in 3D, unfortunately. So I had to watch that. But just being in that cinema, you could just get the idea of how large that image was and how wide and how expansive. And of course, a genre like the Wild West, you know, with the huge wide open spaces, that film looks fantastic. But the interesting thing is that the cameras were so large that if you watch that film, it's all medium shot. There are no close-ups whatsoever, because they couldn't get the actors closer to the cameras because the cameras were so large. So there's no close-up shots whatsoever. Everything's medium frame. But fantastic. And there was a Blu-ray release a number of years ago where they took the 3 different stems and patched them all together so you could watch it as it was supposed to be seen. And if you get the opportunity to see that, or grab that disc and have a look at it, just for filmmaking history and technical filmmaking history, it's well worth looking at. Even though the film's not particularly great, it's still a fantastically put together technical piece of filmmaking, and well worth hunting out. Wild Wild West was also mentioned in the comments. Are we not going to mention?
I've got that down as one of my worst.
lol.
Right, so I think that wraps up our spotlight, our feature.
Yeah, just before we move away from it, I just wanted to share a couple of things that people on the forums had said in response, because it's had a really nice response. So our reviews always get a really good response, but we always tend to bring out the best in people.
Sarcasm.
But I just chosen a couple that I just wanted to highlight, because they showcase like a dissenting opinion, like a well thought through dissenting opinion, and one that made me sort of rethink my opinions of the movie. So from Clark 1983 on the forums, his comment was, "I think this film was too visual, which was stunning at times, showing landscapes, environments, localized towns, but lacked in other areas. Road movie with danger around at every other corner, except they never felt in real danger, which was the main lacking issue. There was no sense of struggle, bar understanding what the girl was talking about from Tom Hanks's character, and it was all a little too convenient." And Clark 1983 says, "The girl didn't convince at all. Slow burn movies need weighty dialogue and impactful character stories, and this film had neither. Disappointing." I quite like this one, because it made me think, like, again, like we said at the top of the segment, it's a valid criticism to say, like, things don't really happen. Things are a bit too convenient. Things are like contrived. I was really surprised to see a dissenting opinion on Helena's Engel.
Yeah, I don't get on board with that at all. I thought she's tremendous. Really, I thought she's tremendous. Really captured that feral kind of quality with very few words. You know, eating her food with her hands, proper stuffing it in her mouth. You know, like, what the hell am I going to do with a fork? I'll stab you with it if you like. You know, I thought she conveyed a lot with very little.
I agree with you, Kaz. I thought she was outstanding. And you got to remember that these are, the child actors. It's like they don't have life skills to pull on to get across points like that. So the fact that someone of that age was as convincing as she was,
to not be acted off the screen by Tom Hanks is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
She held her own, and she was convincing in the role. So I disagree with that one. I thought she was really good.
There was one other I like to, after I've watched something and written about it, I like to dip around the internet and choose a few different sources to see what other people thought of things, to see, just curious on other critics' opinions, because they can be interesting sometimes. And I just wanted to highlight one here, which is from the ever delightful Peter Bradshaw in The Guardian, who said...
Did he actually review the film?
He certainly did.
All right.
He said, "Tom Hanks's own nice guy persona encompasses the movie's unspoken accommodations and triangulations. Kid is a former Confederate soldier, bad, but now a mild campaigner in the cause of peace and reconciliation, good. Joanna Cicada has seen her white kin murdered by Native Americans, and then her adopted Native American kin murdered by white bandits. So she had steered straight down the middle path of 21st century victimhood equivalents." And I read that and I thought, my gut reaction here is to disagree, because I frequently do with this particular critic. But call me nuts, but I don't think that second part is true at all. I never, watching this, felt like there was equivalence in the two tragedies in Cicada's past. I don't think we're treading into spoilers here. This is the first 5 minutes of the movie stuff. But the killing of her Kiowa family obviously had a much greater impact on her than the killing of her German family, as becomes evident later in the movie. I think there are problems of representation of morality in the movie, including the soft way in which kids' Confederate past is dealt with. But if anything, I think the massacre of the Kiowa isn't given enough punch in the story. What do you guys think? Like, am I overselling like the moral representation angle of it here? But I was just surprised to read somebody saying that, like, the movie is trying to say that white people dying and Native Americans dying is the same. I don't think it's saying that at all.
Actually, I just saw it as a young girl who was absolutely, she'd been hurt and scarred at every possible way, abandoned, her loved ones ripped away from her. She just turned into this feral animal who didn't trust a thing and was only drawn by what she knew. I mean, I don't know whether I didn't sit there and go, it's trying to equivocate at all between the two. I just felt really sorry for her. And
yeah,
I did, it's just, I didn't side with any of them particularly. I could completely understand why the German immigrants needed people to work for a living on their farm, because there's no other income, there's no other food, there's no other anything. And what are they going to do with this feral child who doesn't even want to, whatever. But like, I think I don't know whether I'd read as much into it as that reviewer did, but that's just my opinion. I just thought an excellent portrayal of someone who was fortunate.
I think there's too much of this going on in the media nowadays, with different writers, different reviewers, and so on, looking for an angle, looking for a hook, looking for something that perhaps is there or isn't there. It's their interpretation of what it is that they're saying, and there's too much of it going on at the minute. It's yes, there's things that need to be highlighted in it and are highlighted in a signpost, and every audience that watches it should pick up on the points that are being made. They don't need it spelling out to them by reviewers, because it's everybody has their take on the material in front of them. And I think in some quarters of the media these days, it's like everybody has to be spoon-fed an agenda, whether it's whatever. So I tend to ignore stuff like that these days. I don't read too much into things. I think you start very quickly going up your own backside when you start.
I quite like that. I quite like going up my own backside. That's my problem. But yeah, I don't.
You know where I'm
mind,
coming from.
Yeah, I don't mind looking. Yeah, I don't mind people looking for an agenda and stuff. I don't mind that, as long as
there isn't one there.
Yeah, as long as it's borne out in what you are talking about. Like if you want to talk about this stuff, then it's good to talk about this stuff. But you can't. I think there's a temptation to project what you think should be there, or what you think you should be seeing, that is maybe not borne out in the material as it's presented. And I do think that the movie definitely purposefully sidestepped the partisanship of the Civil War. It really didn't go Union good, Confederates bad at all. And I don't see that as a problem. I see that as like an integral part of the story. They were all absolutely people in the wake of a war. And to say that that's both sidesism is putting a modern
spin on it.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, so I just didn't see that borne out in the context of the movie. But I thought it was interesting. So that's why I picked it up, because like you say, Phil, this kind of thing, you read it a lot. People coming at media from their own political angle, and that's legitimate, but it's only sort of legitimate if you've got the evidence to back it up. If you've got a compelling argument for it, which just in this particular case I thought was interesting, wrong for an interesting reason.
Yeah. Okay, so what film are you forcing us all to watch next month, Tom?
Well, it's not me, it's Kaz.
It's Kaz, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to. We could all pay $19.99 and watch Raya.
No, that's not going to happen.
R-rated.
It's going to happen.
The John Wick of the Disney world. No, I was suggesting coming to America. Tom hasn't seen the first film, so feel free to comment about that in the chat.
Yeah, I'm happy to catch up. I'm happy to do my Eddie Murphy homework for it, because these belated sequels are an interesting beast, aren't they?
Yes, I mean the trailer looks. It doesn't look like a train wreck. It doesn't look like Beverly Hills Cop 3. So I've got time for this. So yeah, maybe we'll try that next one.
Okay, well, maybe you should just tune in next month and we'll surprise you with something, because we haven't really thought this one through. But it's been a first relaunch, really, of the Movies podcast. It's a first episode. So what did you think? If you've enjoyed what you've seen this evening, if you want us to continue it, if you've got questions, you got some feedback for us, then please put your questions and feedback into the feedback thread underneath this podcast in the forum, or you can leave it in the chat window, but it's probably better to look and go over to the forum to do that. If you have liked the video, you're watching it live, or you're catching up a little bit later on, then please hit the like button and do consider subscribing to the channel if you don't mind. And my thanks this week go to our movie review team: Simon,
Happy to be here.
Kaz,
Good night.
and Tom.
Very unhappy to be here, frankly.
Hey, it was your idea. So if you've enjoyed the podcast, like I say, give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also be aware that we do publish live streams on a regular basis, so check out the channel for that. Our next podcast is actually in 2 days' time on Wednesday, so tune in for that one. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can bookmark AVForums for latest reviews and news and videos. Plus, leave us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast service you listen to. If they allow it, then please do give us a rating, but only if you enjoyed the show. I'm Phil Hinton. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you for the weekly podcast on Wednesday, and the Movies podcast returns on the 15th of March.